Welcome, everybody, to the Shoot Fast podcast. This is episode 1. My name is Cody Axon. I'm sitting down with Joel Park, and we're going to talk to you guys about shooting today. To start off, Joel, why don't you say hi?
Hello there.
Hello. So Joel and I are both USPSA shooters. That's what we talk about, what we think about, and pretty much what we do with all of our free time and money at all times anyway. So that's why we're starting a podcast, so we can sit around and talk about it even more than we already do. So a little bit about who we are. Joel is a production grandmaster. He's a really big deal.
Yeah, hold your applause till the end.
Yeah, he's a local celebrity. He has a literal fan club.
Yes, it's great.
Yeah. And that's about it. And
that's all I do that's noteworthy. Cody is a top 16 limited shooter dude.
Yeah, so, I'm not a grandmaster though.
Hashtag top Sweet 16 CA.
Yes.
On Instagram.
Yeah.
We need to start that.
And hashtag GM or WWGMJPD. Isn't that what it is? What would GM Joel Park do?
Thank you.
There's literally bracelets, and one guy went so far as to get license plates that say that.
All right, it's enough of that. It's getting pretty thick.
All right. So, like I said, we're USPSA shooters. We just want to sit around and talk about shooting, and I like listening to people sit around and talk about shooting, and there's not enough of it out there. So we're going to put some more of it out there, and you guys can choose whether or not you want to listen to us talk about shooting.
There's a lot of misinformation out there, too.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of times when I listen to podcasts, I'm like sitting there like, what are you talking about? Like that's not right at all. Like,
yes.
I'm just like screaming that I know the answer to what they're talking about, and they're not saying the same things that I would say on a topic or whatever the case may be. So this is our chance to talk about what we think, and it'll be fun. So right now it is January in Nebraska, so not doing a ton of live fire. I think the last time I went to the range was other than we had our indoor match a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, we had our indoor match, which is a little 2-stage thing where, it's like every other indoor match where you have only a handful of targets and they're pretty close. And those matches are a lot of fun. I like going to them, but that's not quite what I normally do in live fire. And I think the last time I went to the range and actually did live fire practice was a few weeks ago, and it's too cold, and I hate it. I hate it when it's so cold. Because right now I'm so ready. I am so revved up and ready to go. I want to go out and shoot 2 or 3 times a week like I normally do.
Yeah, for sure.
In the summer. How often do you normally shoot in the summer?
During the summer, once or twice a week. It depends. Normally about every weekend I will shoot, and then sometimes during the week, just depends.
Yeah. So
the topic for today is live fire.
Mm-hmm. I think most people, that's the first thing they ask me about. Like, that's almost always when somebody wants to know about how much I practice, they always want to know how often do I shoot or how many rounds do I shoot. Usually it's people who don't shoot USPSA are asking me how often I shoot. People who do shoot USPSA are asking me how many rounds I shoot. So to answer both those questions, during the summer or spring or pretty much any, it's not freezing cold, I'm not taking a break for some reason, I usually shoot 2 to 3 times a week, and I shoot about 30,000 rounds a year. Next year, I guess this year for 2018, I would like to get somewhere in the range of 35 to 40,000, which we'll talk about that later, as far as using just purely round count as the only measure of practice, because I don't think that's a good idea either. But for me, I'd like to get about 35 to 40 for this year, and we'll see if I can make that happen or not. It's mostly a time issue for me more than anything, because that's a lot of time committed to spending at the range. So, and you said you shoot how often? Once or twice a week?
Yeah, once or twice. About every weekend, and then sometimes during the week if it works out, just for scheduling stuff.
Yeah, and the advantage that I have on that over you is that I work an unconventional schedule where I work 12-hour shifts, so I will have a couple of days off every couple of days. So I basically try and go once every 3 days or so, and then sometimes I'll go 2 days in a row, and that usually works out to being about 2 or 3 times a week. So when you go to the range, how much time do you normally spend there?
It depends on what I have going on that day, and I don't like to be in a rush. I know what I want to work on before I get there. So I do try to be efficient while I'm at the range. I'm not just, walking around and like looking at the flowers kind of stuff. So when I'm on the way there, or before I even pack my stuff, I've already got an idea of what I want to work on that day, what specific skills and what drills I want to set up, or what I'll be shooting that day rather. So I just practice with targets. I normally bring 3 to 4 just regular target stands. I just drive a grocery getter car, so it's easy stuff to throw in the trunk. Throw up 3 or 4 targets, partials, hardcover, that kind of stuff, and normally there for maybe an hour or 2, and it just kind of depends on the day and what I'm working on. If I need to be in a hurry.
Are you ever actually in and out in an hour with setup and teardown? Because that's really fast. That's like because
we're talking about being there for an hour. Sorry, so drive time not included. How long I'm there shooting.
But still, including like from the time you put your car in park to the time you put your car in drive, it's an hour.
I've done that before, especially when I first I shot in 2017. I was shooting CZ, and I decided I wanted to try Tanfos instead. So I switched to those in August, which was probably not the smartest thing I ever did. But for a while, I was shooting
because you shot nationals in what was that? It was the end of September, right? Beginning of October.
Yeah.
So that was like a month and a half.
Yeah. Well, I talked to you, and you empowered me to do it. I'm like, well,
that's actually just because I like to make you spend money.
Yeah. I was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. I kind of like these guns.
You could have said anything. You could have said like, I'm thinking about punching a baby, and I would have said, yep, do it, absolutely.
You're like, well, they're basically the same gun. They're double
idea.
single metal guns. It'll be fine. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Whatever. And then I listened to this is getting off the subject. But I listened to Ben Steger had a podcast like the week before that he was talking about switching guns. He's like, hey, the timing was not perfect timing, but it was a little inconvenient. He was going to switch anyway, so we decided just to do it. So I'd already made the decision that I wanted to switch guns. I don't think my heart was in shooting with the CZs anymore, even though I realized it's just gear. It doesn't matter. Neither one of us really are gear guys, but I just wanted something different. So I started shooting at least 1,000 rounds plus a week. So yes, there was a couple days where I had my gun so hot I could not use the forward cocking serrations because I felt like I was going to burn my hands. And so if the slide locked open, I just use a slide release. And otherwise I'd like feel my leg getting hot through the holster because I just had one gun. So a roundabout way of answering, yes, I can get in and out and shoot I shot 400 rounds in an hour.
What were you doing where you shot 400 rounds in an hour?
Distance change up really hard.
Were you pacing targets every time?
Yeah. Shoot. So I would shoot 4 to 5 strings of a drill, and then I will look for a trend. So I don't think it's efficient at all to shoot, if you have something set up, to shoot it, a scenario, a stage, whatever, one time, walk through, paste every target, and then go back and set up again. Mm-hmm. So I'll shoot something 4 to 5 strings, or maybe all the mags in my belt, which could be 6. And then when I get done, I'll look at trends. So, if I'm doing, like you talk about distance change up, if I'm like an end target, a very right target.
What's distance change up for the uninitiated?
Okay, so you're going to have and you could do it different ways, but you'd be switching gears, so you'd have a close target, like a full target you don't have to aim on, a head box, maybe 15 to 18 yards, and then another close target to the right of that. So they're kind of a triangular shape, if that makes sense. And so you're going to draw and hammer the close target hard, slow down, aim accurately, make those headshots, and then transition to that right target in really hard and slam alphas again. Mm-hmm. So if I'm doing something like that, if I look at that very right target and I see all the hits are Charlies and Deltas on the left or the right side of that A box, I can tell I've got a problem with how I'm transitioning. Mm-hmm. So you can look at trends without pasting every time. I can see what's going on.
Yeah,
and I'm calling my shot. So I'm keeping my eyes open. I'm paying attention to everything that's going on, and I can see if I have an issue somewhere. I can kind of tell what's going on at that point.
Another thing, if you start off with brand new targets from the beginning and don't use targets that are that have previously been shot up, you can do that same thing you're talking about with finding trends. because sometimes I'll shoot, like we're talking about, where I'll shoot the same drill 3 or 4 times, and then I'll paste, and then I'll shoot it 3 or 4 more times, and then I'll paste. And I don't really notice necessarily right away, but then when I look at how the pacers are grouped on the target afterwards, or after I've ran it a few times, then I can start to see that pattern in where the pacers are, which I actually think is a really useful thing to do at matches too. Going off topic a little bit here, but when we're talking about looking at trends on a target, a lot of times, especially at major matches where you get a whole bunch of shooters shooting the same targets, I'll walk up to like a partial target when I walk a stage if a handful of squads have already shot it, and I'll look at where all the pacers are for where all the previous people have shot it. And sometimes I'll look at it if it's like a real difficult partial target. I'll look at it as like, this is the spot where I'm going to aim on purpose. I'm going to purposely aim into the Charlie because the shooting of the Alpha is too risky. Or I will do it where I see a whole bunch of people are shooting Charlies here, and there's no reason why you should, because it's a super close, easy target. And people are shooting Charlies either because they're being lazy and they're not...
Cowardly.
They're being cowardly. They're shooting like a coward.
I'm glad you thought of that. That's a good one.
They're shooting like a coward by aiming off the target.
Especially if you have like a full A box.
Yeah, if you have like a full A box that is like right in front of you, but maybe there's a no shoot towards the bottom or something like that. Sometimes you'll get people who are so afraid of that no shoot that they'll aim way off of it. Another thing, or if it's like a position where you got to come far enough into the position to actually get to the A zone, or if it's like let's say it's a low port target where it's like one of those ones at 45 degrees at the ground. Sometimes you'll see them where people aren't getting into position right. And people are consistently, like all the shooters on that stage aren't getting into position right, where a ton of shooters are shooting Charlies where they shouldn't. That's something that I look for when you're looking at pacers on a target. So anyway, that's a little tangent about pacers on a target, that I can give you more information that I think a lot of people don't even think to look for.
Yeah, thank you for that unsolicited testimonial.
Yeah, all right. So anyway, back to when you go to the range. So you work on the same drill a bunch of times. Do you ever pace between every run, depending on what you're working on, or?
It depends. So if, for instance, I was doing bill drills at about 25 yards last year. And so I have terrible eyesight. Yeah, I can see the front sight. I can see stuff close, but I can't see hits in the target at 25 yards.
Do you wear glasses?
So, no.
Do you wear contacts or anything?
No.
All right, should you be wearing glasses or contacts?
I don't want to mess with that. It's a lot of hassle, and I'm fine. I can see. I can still hit poppers at 50 yards, bro. I just can't see bullet holes. So anyway, maybe I'll set up 4 targets side by side, so I can do a drill 4 times, 1 time on each target, and then go down and paste them all together. So there are times where I would want to see what's going on, where I'm maybe not sure, or there's a target at, like when we practice, we'd have a target at 50. A full USPSA target at 50. I'm like, hey, I think I called that 2 alphas. I want to just go down and look at that. Mm-hmm. So it might happen sometimes. But as a rule, I think it's inefficient to be, just as a blanket rule, pasting after every run. I think it's a waste of time.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Usually, I try not to paste on every single run. I'll usually do like 4. 4 is a pretty good number for most things, where I will do 4 runs before I paste. I do the same thing where I'll shoot at 50 yards sometimes, and every single time I shoot at 50 yards, I like to shoot bill drills at 50 yards, and just the goal is to get all alphas. I have a really hard time getting all. I can't.
It's terrible.
Yeah, I can't get all alphas at 50 yards. Yeah, I'm still working on that. But when I shoot at 50 yards, every single time I'll put 6 targets down there. Same thing you're talking about. I'll put 6 targets down there, and I will shoot 6 50-yard bill drills, and then I will walk down and I will check each target and see what the hits are and paste the targets then. Just because if I walk back and forth every single time,
it's a waste of time.
I would be there for hours by the time I shoot 200 rounds, because it takes me a long time to walk 50 yards, and I'm not going to run that much because I'll be exhausted by the end.
And chances are it's Nebraska and it's like July and it's 500 degrees out in the shades.
Yeah,
so.
we have 2 modes of weather here. It's either 100 degrees or it's 0 degrees.
20 below.
Yeah, or 20 below. So if it's on the rare day where it's actually nice weather, where it's like 70 degrees out, then maybe I'd be willing to jog it out a little bit. But most days I'm not going to want to do that, especially when we're training in the summer and it's 100 degrees out. So,
and if you only have so much time, you want to shoot as much as you want to until you feel like you're not getting something out of it. I don't want to run out of time and still be, I brought 500 rounds. I really want to keep going. I've got more ammo, but I need to get going.
Yeah. I think that's a good transition into the topic of what we're talking about, just kind of generally how to live fire. I think that efficiency in live fire is a really good goal and something that you should definitely strive towards. As I already said, I mean, I'm not going to rehash what Joel just said because what he just said is pretty much the same thing as what I do. I'll go and set up a drill. I'll shoot it 3 or 4 times and pace them after every 3 or 4 times. We'll reset the targets every 3 or 4 times, and I'll be able to look at the targets. If I have a miss or something like that, I'm almost always aware of it. The only time I would say that that's not a good idea for people is if you have somebody who's a newer shooter or isn't super accurate or is not super good at calling their shots. They're not sure of where things are going. If you shoot a drill 3 times in a row and then you go down and paste it, and then all of a sudden there is a miss on the target and you have no idea where that would have came from, that's probably a case where you're going to want to paste every single time, or at least check the targets quick for holes before you do it again. You might not have to paste them, but you can at least check and make sure there's not any holes missing or anything like that.
What about not pasting alphas? This topic came up this summer with somebody that we shoot with. What do you think about that?
Not pasting alphas, so you paste everything but alphas?
Correct.
I don't like it because I don't know. If I'm not so good at shooting that I never miss. And if I do what we're talking about, where I shoot like 4 times, and then I go down and look at the holes, I still go down and count the holes. Like if I shoot 2 shots per target every time, I make sure there's 8 shots in the target if I shot it 4 times, because if there's 7, then I miss. But if I had a big, Holoda A zone, and maybe I did miss on one of those, I just don't trust myself enough for that. The only time I might do something like that is if it were like a 3-yard target where I either hit the target. I mean, where I know it's either going to be in the A zone or it's
where you're using the outline of your gun at,
or it's going to be a miss. So if that were the case, then maybe. But that's not something that I regularly do.
Even then, I don't like the idea. I was just curious what you thought, because it comes up a lot.
Yeah, and I know some people do that, and certainly there's situations where that could be a useful idea, but I just don't trust myself that much.
I think it's too easy to sling one over the shoulder, and just not know it's there. You're hammering on stuff, and then you're like, hey, this target's full of alphas anyway. I'm so good. I'm doing amazing. You swing the gun there, you hold it really tight, slap the trigger twice, like, hey, must have been 2 alphas.
Yeah,
You're just not as accountable for every shot you fire.
Yeah, and I definitely have a tendency where when I do shoot misses, it's because I'm splitting on the target too hard and I throw one over the shoulder.
Yeah.
That's definitely something that I'm guilty of plenty. I'm even more guilty of that when I'm shooting the amoeba style IPSC targets.
And if you have like a partial.
Yeah, because you have so much less on top of the A zone. I mean, if you're missing the A zone on one of those targets, you have like 2 inches of Charlie, and then you have nothing. So I definitely have a tendency to throw shots over the target on those. If I am going to miss, it's going to be over the head. So no, there's no way I would shoot, especially those targets, with only pasting Charlies and Deltas. I'd paste everything.
And you're not saving any time, and pasters are cheap. So I just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah.
I think we were thinking the same thing about that.
No, I agree. So
what about round count?
So one thing that goes along, the thing that goes along with round count is being efficient and how much time you're spending at the range. So there's a really close relationship between those two things. One thing I don't want to be doing when I go to the range is doing like a 500 round session that takes me like 4 hours, because I like to go to the range often. And if I'm going to the range and doing 4-hour sessions all the time, I'm going to have no time in my life to do anything else but practice.
I don't see the problem there.
Well, that's all well and good, but at some point,
I'm joking.
At some point I have, like things like work and relationships to uphold with,
no one likes you.
With people in my life. And
no one likes you. I'm the only friend you have.
You're not wrong. But I do have other things going on. Like maybe I have to go to the grocery store or something. Because definitely I don't have plans with friends or anything like that. Definitely no plans. But so if every time I go to the range I have to block out 6 hours of half hour, 35-minute drive time each way, and then I'm going to be there for 5 hours. I'm not going to be able to go shooting very often if I got to block out that much time. I just don't have that much time in my life. And that was something that last year I really focused on, was trying to be as efficient as possible. Efficiency is definitely something we talk about a lot for shooting, is you want to be as efficient as possible when you shoot your way through a stage. You want to be not wasting movement, not wasting time. Well, the exact same thing I think is true with your actual practice setup. If you're going out and you have just some crazy inefficient practice where you're going to shoot one target 50 yards, jog down, pace it, and then come back, you're going to shoot almost no rounds.
Or dragging every prop out of your, like your shed, whatever your clubhouse where you store your USPSA props, like you build a stage with.
Exactly. You build a stage and then you spend 45 minutes with a drill, like a literal drill, drilling in screws to put walls up. And then you drag out every piece of steel that you have, and then you need to reset every piece of steel every single time.
Which is a bit extreme, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
It's not efficient. It's a waste of time.
It's extreme, but it's not outside of the realm of possibility. I literally see people setting up entire stages at the range, or very close to setting up an entire stage, which can be fine from time to time, but there's always that consideration of, if that's what you do every single time you go to the range, you're just not going to be able to block out time. Like, people have... I'm not married, but if I were married, I would imagine that it wouldn't be good for my relationship, or my wife wouldn't be letting me go out very, very often if every single time I say, hey, I'm going to the range, I just don't come back until, like midnight. That's just not... It's not a good way to live your life. And I think that's one of the problems that people have, where people are sometimes so amazed, where like, what, you go to the range like 2 or 3 times a week? Well, when I go for... I think about the fastest I ever get through a session is about an hour 15, an hour 30 or so. And I'm very rarely ever there for more than like 2 hours, because, you get tired. You either get cold or hot. If you're in Nebraska, you get one or the other. It's never just that it's nice weather. You either get too cold, too hot, your hands get tired, you get, mentally foggy from standing outside all day, or you're working on the same stuff over and over, and you get to the point where it's not really helpful anymore.
You get frustrated.
Yeah. And, so the longer, the more time you spend, the more likely that is. So yeah, definitely more rounds in less time is a good thing, but there's a limit to that as well. Because, how often you set up a 32 round stage in practice?
Never.
Why?
It takes too long to go through, too long to reset. I'm trying to, typically when I set something up, I'm trying to, I work on everything all the time, but I'm picking a specific skill or something that I'm trying to isolate. So I might be trying to work on, points or transitions, or I want to split this target hard, or I want to move this. So I think you get lost in all the noise if I want to work on, transitions. I don't need to go shoot a 32 round stage to go run, all over this bay, to when I could have set up a simple drill and been, load my mags to capacity, which is something else I wanted to bring up, for how much you load your mags to. Like if you're doing a bill drill, I'll load my mags all the way up if your capacity is divisible by 6.
Yeah, because you shoot production.
Correct.
So you're limited to 10 round mags in production, but you have 17 round mags for your gun.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is there's no point in limiting yourself to 10 rounds per mag.
For sure. For that specific thing, yeah.
For the whole idea of efficiency, like we're talking about.
Yeah. So if the drill you're doing is divisible, if I'm doing mag changes, and this is getting a little off subject, if I'm doing mag changes, I do like to keep them to 10 rounds, because obviously the weight for drawing them off your belt is a little bit different, and I prefer to stick to 10 for that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if I'm just, like stand and shoot, draw and hammer something, load them up for most of the time. Yeah.
So do you think the difference between 10 and 12, are your hands that sensitive because you shoot 147 grain bullets?
I'm talking about 10 and 17.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
If I'm drawing a full 17 round mag off my belt, I can tell the difference between that and 10.
Okay, but 10 and 12?
I don't care.
Okay.
I'm not that sensitive. Come on now.
Okay.
All right, so tell me about when you go to the range. How's your tempo when you start? Do you start off gradual, like let me get warmed up? Do you start out at full speed?
Yeah, I don't. I've seen some training programs and stuff, or I've even seen top shooters talking about how every single time they go to the range, they warm up on the same thing, or they will shoot groups first to make sure their gun's hitting, or something like that. Or I see other newer shooters where they'll start off slow and then try and speed up. I don't like either of those ideas. I think that first run is really valuable, and that's something that I actually do a lot to protect that first run of not going out and doing a bunch of artificial warm-up, like running through it with my gun dry firing or anything like that.
Yes.
I try not to do anything before my first run that you can't do at a match, because at a match, I think a lot of people struggle on their first stage, the first time they have to draw the gun out of the holster and shoot some stuff. They lose their minds because they're not warmed up at all. It's this completely new sensation for the day. And I mean, I think most people are familiar with what I'm talking about, which is after you shot some rounds for the day, whether it be practice or in a match, you start getting comfortable, you get warmed up, and you start to kind of get into a groove, and you know what it's going to feel like to shoot the gun.
Yeah.
But that first run, your first stage, whether it be at a match or in practice, is just it's its own thing. It's really its own separate thing. So I try and preserve that first run to be exactly like I would do it in a match, where
I take it to the level of air gunning. So I'll stand there like I'm looking at the stage, even if it's just a drill, and my gun does not come out of the holster. I get a dry grip, bring my hands up, and I'll air gun like I'm shooting those targets. How much time I think I'm going to need to pay attention between pressing the trigger on those targets. And yeah, I completely agree. I want the first one to really, and the same thing with dry fire. Mm-hmm. I think the first one really matters.
Yeah. No, I would go so far as to say the first one matters more than most of them. Like the first one is the most important, because that's what you have to do in a match, is you have to go out one time, you get one shot at it, and that has to be your awesome run.
That was inspirational.
That first run does have that extra importance of, when I draw the gun the first time, I want it to be exactly how I'd want it to be in a match. Now that said, you're going to shoot it more than once, and very rarely is your first run you do going to be your very best one.
And that's okay.
Yeah, and that's fine. And that's the point of practicing, is you're trying to improve. So if you shoot it once and then you go out and you shoot it 3 or 4 more times, you're going to get better as you go along, and you should get better as you go along. But just don't expect that, let's say you're shooting a classifier and you go out and you shoot an El Presidente and you shoot like a 12 hit factor on it at the end of your practice session after you shot it 10 times. Don't expect that when you go to a match and shoot an El Presidente, it's going to be just like the last time you shot it, where you shot a 12 hit factor. It's going to be awesome because you practice it so much and you're super good at El Presidente now. You're probably going to be a lot closer, whatever your first run was, than your last run.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, practice will make you better. You will be better than had you not done that practice session at all. But it's not really realistic to think that just because you were able to do something in practice after doing it a whole bunch of times, you're able to do that in a match. That's something I struggle with for a long time, is why am I not able to reproduce the results that I'm getting in practice in matches? And it was because I think I was aware in the back of my mind that was a thing, but I didn't quite understand the importance of it, how something that you can do after practicing it a dozen times is not the same as what you're going to be able to do in a match. It just doesn't work that way. So yeah, when I shoot, I'm trying to do as well as I can every single time. There's no warm-up runs or anything like that, or I'm just getting into the groove of things. I want every single time to be as good as it can be. Occasionally, depending on what I'm working on, I'll do where I'm going to shoot this just as fast as I can. I'm going to go like a maniac. And
you used to be really good at that. That was entertaining to watch.
I'll go like a maniac and just try and push as hard as I can and do something that's super cool. And we'll see if I can hook up on it. But the majority of the time, that's not what I'm doing. Or sometimes, depending on what it is, if it's let's say it's a 25-yard build drill, and I'm struggling, I can't hit all alphas on a 25-yard build drill to save my life. Sometimes I will do it where, okay, now I'm just going to do it group shooting pace, or maybe just a little bit faster than group shooting pace, where all I'm going to try and do is shoot 6 alphas just to show myself I'm capable of doing that. But before I do that, I'm conscious of the fact that I'm doing something different here. This isn't my normal pace. Otherwise, outside of those two circumstances where I'm intentionally going slow or I'm intentionally going fast, I'm always trying to shoot at the pace that I would shoot at in a match, and trying to make that my permanent. That's the only way that I'm able to shoot, is at USPSA pace of trying to hit the targets as fast as I can, hit that target, without going artificially slow or pushing so fast that I can't hit it at all.
So what about misses in practice? Because obviously the goal is to get faster.
Yeah.
So how do you? I don't want to lead you at all. Or how do you
It depends.
Push and how do you feel about misses?
It depends. That's your answer for everything in USPSA is always it depends. Because people, when you're first getting in, it's like, okay, there's these alphas and there's Charlies and deltas, but then there's also the timer. So, like, do points matter more or does time matter more? And the answer is always, for every question you could ever have, is it depends. So, if I'm shooting something where I'm trying to go fast, like, let's say I go out to the range and my goal is I want to get fast today. Like, I want to go out there, I'm going to shoot something at 10 yards and in. I'm going to shoot like 7-yard bill drills, or I'm going to shoot a stage and I'm going to have a whole bunch of really close targets and I'm just going to shred them. I'm just going to shoot as fast as I can. In that scenario, I'm more likely to shoot misses than if I were doing something where I'm going to work on movement, for example. If I were working on movement, my goal would be to, shoot points on the targets like I would want to in a match, just like we're talking about. I want to shoot the pace and the points like I would in a match, and my goal was to make the movement as efficient as possible. If I'm just trying to push speed, then yeah, I'm probably going to shoot some misses and figure out either once I shoot misses, what do I need to do to be able to make those hits at that speed, or is that am I not capable of hitting at that speed? So I'll either have to slow down just a hair to be able to still be able to make the hits, or I will do whatever is necessary to figure out how do I hit at that pace.
Let me throw this out and you tell me what you think.
Hold on. Let me finish this thought. The other time where I'm likely to miss a lot is if I'm working on something that has some crazy high accuracy requirement. So if I'm working on like partials at 50 yards, which I have done before, or like plate racks at 25 or 30 or 50 yards, when I work on those really difficult shots, there's a better chance I'm going to have misses, and I don't want to have those misses. I'm going to be upset when I have misses, but it's part of the process, and I know I'm going to miss when I'm doing something that's that hard. What's your question?
It makes sense. So for me, if I'm practicing on a drill and I'm shooting at match pace, so I'm comfortable, and I would be frustrated, disappointed, dissatisfied if I shot misses because I'm shooting within my match mode and I should be hitting everything, then I make a conscious decision it's time to push. Let's see what I can do here. So I'm not just throwing lead at the target, but in that instance, for me, misses are more okay. I don't want them, but I'm discovering the limit of what I can do. So I've got my match mode when I'm comfortable doing it. I can do it on command any day. And then I flip a switch and it's like, all right, I'm going to really push. I'm going to try to really hammer these close targets. I want to move this transition. And in that case, yeah, misses happen and it's not good. I don't want them to, but they don't hurt my feelings as bad as when I'm in my match mode. But I realize that misses are okay in practice at times because you have to get pushed to get better. If I just did what I'm comfortable with, I wouldn't ever get better.
Yeah.
So, if you agree with that.
No, I definitely agree with that. And that's the same thing as what I'm talking about when I say I'm just going to like shred these targets as hard as I can. I'm not necessarily going to do that for the whole day. Every run isn't going to be I'm going to shoot a bunch of misses and go as hard as I can. I'm going to maybe set up something that's more speed-oriented, and I'm still going to do what we talked about, which is the first time I go out and shoot it, I'm going to shoot at a match pace. I'm going to try and hit everything and see how fast I can go. And then from there, once I've kind of established a baseline of it's not that I'm going slow, but this is my natural pace, and this is what I'm comfortable with. After I find that level of comfort, then I'm going to start pushing harder and seeing what I'm really capable of if I push even harder.
Yeah.
All right. So we talked about what we do when we go to the range alone. You and I, for the past, 2 or 3 years? I'd say at least the last 2 years, we pretty regularly go to the range together. I mean, I would say during the kind of peak training months, maybe once a week or so, once every other week or so. So what's different when we go to the range together?
We meet up, we're driving there, we talk about all our normal garbage, like work, friends, family, all that crap. And you get to the point where it's like, we cross those railroad tracks. It's like, all right, the mood switch is like, all right, what are we going to work on today? So I think before
that's about 5 minutes away from the range for those who don't know.
Yeah, it's like all right, railroad tracks, and the gear switches.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't care about your life anymore. Tell me about what we're going to do today. have a plan before we get there. So we work on, all right, these are the things I suck at. I want to do these. What do you think? Yep. By the time we get there, we already have drills set up, or drills in mind that we want to set up. We're going to do a stage, what we're going to do that day. When we go together, sometimes we'll do mini stages that I would not normally do on my own. Just because setup and tear down is way faster.
Yeah, and that definitely goes into the efficiency thing that we're talking about, which is if I'm going to set up something that takes a lot more time to literally set up at the beginning.
That's when you invite me.
Yeah, that's when I invite you to
set up everything for you.
To pull the range card around and set things up for me while I load mags and do my own thing.
Yeah.
But
One of the things that I enjoy that we do is we will set up a mini stage with typically non-falling steel. Although I did like falling steel for a while, just so I didn't learn to look for the ding and then move on. But typically non-falling steel, a mini stage, and then we'll set up something where, to make this overly simple, imagine a wall with a port in the center, and then on each side maybe you have a fault line, and then you have targets scattered out throughout, and let's say it could be anywhere from 8 to 16 rounds, depending on the day. And then we'll come up with a shooting order. So I go first. It's all right, you're going to start with both hands touching on the inside of this port. You're going to draw and shoot these 2 targets. You're going to move then left, shoot this one, move right, and shoot these.
Yeah, I always like comparing it to when you were a kid and you'd play baseball in the street. And it's all right, the mailbox is first base.
Yeah.
The manhole cover is second base. And you're just making stuff up as you go, and it's kind of, you have to use your imagination to imagine the baseball field. We do the exact same thing with stages. It's not about setting up all the walls to make a level 2 legal stage where you can only see the targets that you're going to engage from the spot that you want to engage them in. No, we'll set up a port so that you can kind of imagine the rest of the stage around it, and then make up rules for you have to shoot this target from here, you have to shoot this target on the move as you come in.
And it's stuff that doesn't make any sense. It's not a match plan it's just stupid.
Yeah.
Or you'll be shooting from the left side all the way across to the right side of the range, whatever.
Yeah, we talked about pushing earlier, and this is a situation where we create situations to push too, where it's maybe it's a target that you wouldn't be comfortable shooting on the move in a match, but since we're practicing and we're trying to push our skill level to a newer height, you're gonna make requirements of the stage that you probably wouldn't do if it were actually a stage in a match. So, yeah, a partial target at 10 yards, all right, we're going to shoot that on the move. And to which your response is usually, I would never shoot that on the move. And then I explain that's the whole point, is we're trying to make it hard. And then you say, okay, and then we do it. Sometimes you're no, I'm just not going to do that. And
yeah, she was bullying me into it, but whatever.
Yeah, usually I just try and bully you until you do what I want. But yeah, usually that works out pretty well.
So anyway, we'll shoot whatever nonsense I come up with that would not make any sense. We'll both shoot that. Maybe whatever mags you have on your belts, maybe 3 times, 4 times.
Yeah, that's another situation where we don't pace.
Correct.
I'll be, if you're shooting, I'll be back loading mags, and I'll watch you shoot. You go through it 3 or 4 times. When you get done, I'll say you'll
ridicule me.
Yeah, I'll usually ridicule you. I'll say, hey, your position entry over there sucked, or what happened on that delta over there. It's usually. It's productive conversation, but it's not really very nice. It's not productive, or what do you call it?
It is productive. It's just not courteous.
Yeah, usually when you criticize people, you're supposed to be nice, but I don't know. It's more productive for us if we just are honest about it.
Yeah.
And say, hey, that sucked. What were you thinking?
Yeah.
Or you should be able to do way better than that.
Yeah. Or sometimes I'll look at you that was just genuinely awful.
Yeah.
That was embarrassing. I'm embarrassed that you just did that, which has happened before. Yeah. So anyway, then after that, hopefully you try to regain what little bit of your dignity you have and self-worth. We both pace the targets together. After we pace them together, then Cody would be up, and while he's shooting, I will load mags and ridicule him after each string if I need to, or at the end, whatever. And by the time he's done, then my mags are loaded again. We pace together, and then it's my turn to shoot. So there's really isn't any downtime. One of us is always shooting, and while we're loading mags, paying attention to what the other person is doing, and if there's anything we can point out that they probably don't see or don't realize they're doing, try to point those things out.
Yeah, ridicule aside, it is really useful to have a second person there.
For sure.
Especially somebody else who's, we're at a very similar skill level, so
I'm not top 16 though.
I'm not a GM, so we see things in each other that maybe the untrained eye would just watch and say like, oh my god, that was so fast, like that was amazing, and I watch him shoot and I'm like, well, what the hell are you doing over there? That looked terrible. Where maybe I'm probably exaggerating, it wasn't literally terrible, but
yeah, at the time it does.
But in my mind, it's not what he should be doing, and he's capable of a lot more, and he does the same thing with me because we're both aware of what the other person is capable of, and try and push each other to actually get better, or at least do what we know we're capable of, rather than shooting like a coward, shooting too slow, or aiming off of a no shoot that is. You should be able to hit alphas, but you're too scared of it because you're shooting like a little coward. That's really the only way of describing it.
Well said. And then I think the other thing, and I realize not everybody has the luxury of having someone to train with, but then like at nationals, when we look at stages, I'll be like, yeah, this is something you can shoot on the move. We kind of, what each other's capable of.
Yeah.
So if he's looking at something, I'm like, yeah, you could do this, or an activator sequence. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yeah, I can make this. You can make this.
Yeah.
Like Area 4, there was that stage that had. What you shot like it was a popper that activated, and then you're waiting for the clamshell.
Yeah, so it was an activator sequence where you shoot.
There's like two static, and one had a
you shoot
zebra target.
You shoot a full size popper, and then you're waiting. That popper activates a max trap, which reveals a target, and then it goes away. So typically, when you see that in a match, what you want to do, the best way to do it is while you shoot that activator, and while you're waiting for that activator to fall and for the target that it reveals to come out, whether it be a swinger or a max trap or a drop turn or something like that, you want to do something else in that time period because it's just wasted time if you point your gun at it and just wait for the target to appear. So yeah, that's why I always am super happy when Joel's ahead of me in a shooting order when something like that comes up. Because if I see him shoot a activator sequence and he pulls it off in some really aggressive way, then I'm like, yep, I'm going to do that. It's going to be awesome because it looked awesome when he did it, and I can do the same thing that he can do. Or if he shoots it cowardly and maybe doesn't shoot as many targets in the middle as he could have, like he could have been more aggressive with the targets he chose to shoot, and he has plenty of time, then
then I can give him that. Say, hey, if I could do this again, I would shoot this target. And we practice together enough, I know what he's capable of. Like, hey, for you should be doing this. It's very capable. It's very easy.
That's one thing that sucks about nationals this year being separated is I won't have you to ridicule during stages and to tell me you should just shoot with your limited minor mag so that you can tell me how to shoot.
That'd be awesome.
What do you think about shooting with people who...
to back up real quick. So then we're going back to talking about at the range. We have the port and the target set up in the random shooting order.
Yep.
After we shoot it each time, we come up with a different scenario.
Yep.
So you get one... I want to expand on that. You get one try. You get one try for the 4 mags on your belt. You shoot it, whatever it is. Like, after that, you're done. So then it's Cody's turn. He thinks up of something that's even dumber than what I had. Mm-hmm. And then I'll have to shoot that for the 4 mags on my belt, and that's it. You leave it.
We have to, we both do it where, maybe we chose some sequence that was really dumb and really difficult. And then, when I stepped up to shoot it, it went really poorly. Like, I screwed it up like 3 out of 4 times. Or I didn't shoot it well once. And vice versa. Sometimes I have to talk you back from the ledge of like, I want to shoot that again just like that. And occasionally, it'll be okay, fine, we can do it just this once. But usually it's no, we're moving on. And you bone that stage and we're moving on, we're shooting something else. Because that's what happens in matches. You don't get to go and reshoot a stage just because you shot it poorly. You got to move on and, just be better the next time.
So to make the full circles the efficiency thing, then we don't even move the targets the whole time we're there. We set up the targets at one spot in the stage. We're constantly shooting the whole time. Mm-hmm. The only time there's downtime is to restore the targets, and then the next guy comes up with the next scenario. We do that. So
I think part of what makes that really useful too is the stage planning aspect of it. Is we're looking at essentially the same stage where all the targets in the same spot, all the props in the same spot, but now we're doing a totally different engagement sequence. Maybe you got to skip a target and then you shoot it later when you move to a different spot. So forcing yourself to do that and back to back, it happens all the time where, we change the rules of the stage, we do it different, but then you try and revert back to what we just did. So I think doing all this without doing a 5-minute walkthrough, without doing a whole bunch of visualization. You do as much as you can in the short period of time, and then you step up and you go, rather than, you shoot the same stage all day where you don't ever change the plan. I think that helps a lot with me not screwing up stage plans of, maybe I think of a stage plan that I like, and then I watch somebody shoot, and I'm like, that is a way better stage plan. Like, that will go way better. Mm-hmm. A lot of times you don't want to change halfway through, but by practicing like we do, it gives that option of, if something is actually better and you think that it will be a significant advantage for you to change to a stage plan that somebody else did after you've already thought of a stage plan, being able to erase that old stage plan from your mind and to put a new one in is a really important skill. One last topic I want to talk about is training in big groups or training with people who maybe aren't as good as you. What do you think about that?
So I think if you're that dude that wants to get better, you want to find the best guy at your club. And
what if you're the best guy at your club and people are asking you to train with you? Because I know that literally happens to you. So I'm asking, what do you think about that?
I think if they're motivated and they stay on task, it does not bother me at all. If it's the right person, if it's somebody that wants to be there, they want to train, they want to get better. While I'm loading mags, like the setup that Cody described that we were talking about, that doesn't slow me down one bit. It's fine. If it's somebody that's like, oh yeah, I want to get better, but I'm not really invested. Like, I want to stand around and talk all day, or they forget stuff, or then it probably isn't as productive as your time. And you could take people to the range, or I've taken people to the range where maybe I didn't get anything out of it, but I just wanted to hang out with that person or wanted to help them, and then I separate that from my own training.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I brought friends before who know how to shoot and are safe, so I don't have to like watch them or hold their hand while they're shooting.
Yeah.
And I'll do a similar setup to what we're talking about, and then while they're shooting, I'm reloading mags. It doesn't really cost me anything to have somebody else shooting on the same stage while I'm reloading mags, and I can give them tips and help them out. But as long as when I think it becomes a real problem is when you're at the range and you're shooting, and then the other person doesn't want to do what you're doing anymore, and then now they want to bust out the 50 cal and shoot it at 7 yards and see how big of a blast it is, and or once you start busting out like machine guns and stuff
or muzzle loaders
like I'm leaving, like I'm good, like it just it's fine if that's your interest in guns, but you and I both agree on this because we've talked about it a lot, which is that our interest isn't in guns and just like shooting all kinds of guns, and that's fine if that's what you like, but that's not the same as trying to be good at USPSA. It's a totally different thing. My interest is in shooting,
and I hate setting up stuff like fiddling around with recoil springs and all that stuff.
Yeah,
like when I switched guns, I just asked. There's 2 top level guys. I'm like, hey, what weight recoil spring do I use? They told me what they use. It was the same number for the bullet weight that I shoot, the 147s. I never tried anything else. I just bought 10 of them. And I don't even know how my gun would shoot with a different weight. I don't really care.
I agree. And I mean, same thing with like loads. For my old gun or for my new gun, production or limited, I found a load that worked, that made power factor, and I'm like,
consistent. This
doesn't shoot really dumb. Like, it's not flying out of my hands when I'm trying to shoot it, and it feels fine. So I'm just going to shoot this and not try and chase after getting the exactly perfect thing. But that's kind of a separate topic. We'll do a future episode on that maybe. But
I do. What do you feel about more than 2 people? How do you feel about that?
Yeah. So that was definitely where I was going with this. I think 3 people is okay. If you had 3 people who are all equally motivated, like if it was us and one other guy who is either really motivated or maybe at a similar level, or at least like a similar level of motivation, I think that'd be fine.
I think motivation is more important than skill.
Yeah, definitely motivation is more important than skill. And I think, I guess when I say our level, I'm not saying necessarily shooting level. I mean level of
investment.
Yes, level of investment, level of participation is what it's called a lot, which is, the emotional investment and the financial investment and the time investment I put into this is different from someone who just goes and shoots matches on the weekend, which is fine. But if you just shoot matches on the weekend and never practice, you're probably not going to enjoy practice the same way that Joel or I do. So if you shoot that same drill, let's say we shoot 200 rounds of USPSA practice in the way that we've described, and then you just get bored because it's not a match or whatever, then that's just not a person that I would be able to train with very efficiently, because it's about keeping the pace up, keeping the pressure on, and being efficient, where we're not just out there wasting time and throwing rounds downrange for no reason in particular.
That's just a different day. That's just not a training day.
Yeah. And once you get more than 3 people, then you start getting into just controlled chaos. One more piece about round count before we wrap this up is I believe I talked about how just pure round count isn't a good measure of how good your practice is. Mm-hmm. I could shoot 50,000 rounds a year and just shoot mag dumps into the berm, and I can shoot. I've got 10 mags. If I load up 10 mags with 20 rounds apiece, I could shoot 200 rounds in like 5 minutes, and that would be like a super high round count. Once I reload all those mags, shoot them again, boom, 400 rounds in like 15 minutes. That's awesome. Like, that's such good practice to shoot 400 rounds. It doesn't really work that way. You have to be focused. You have to be paying attention to what you're doing, paying attention to what the gun's doing, and how different things you're doing are affecting what the gun's doing, where the hits are on target, how fast you're able to go. If you're not constantly thinking about all the different variables and you're just shooting just for the sake of shooting, you're not going to get better. So round count is only a piece of the puzzle. I know when I go to the range, I'm not going to just go and burn rounds for no reason. So when I say I want to shoot 35 to 40,000 rounds, what I mean is I want to do 35 to 40,000 rounds of controlled, focused practice like I do. I've heard people say things like, if you just shoot a bunch, it'll work itself out. I
don't think that's the case.
I don't think that's the case. I don't think anybody ever gets really good by just letting things work themselves out. But you have anything else to say about that?
No, I agree. And I just round count also varies. I think we talked about that briefly based on what you're doing. So if it's something like bill drills, you're going to go through a ton. If I'm doing 25-yard bill drills, I'm going to go through a different round count than a 7-yard bill drill. So definitely. I might shoot 200 rounds and it might be 500 rounds. When I feel like I'm not getting anything out of it, or I'm getting tired, or I'm kind of just like emotionally checking out mentally, I'm like, I'm kind of ready to go. There's no reason to try to push through it or anything, because you're not being productive. You're just shooting ammo at that point.
Definitely. So, and some of the best practice sessions I've ever had, like that were the most productive, have been like 250 to 300 rounds, because maybe I'm practicing like a really difficult stage with really difficult shots, and it's really productive, but I'm not shooting that many rounds, and that's fine.
Yeah.
So it's not about just pushing the round count as high as possible. It's about making the practice as good as it possibly can be.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, that's going to do it for this week. We'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks.